Breaking today, the mainstream media finally catching up with what Lady Colin Campbell and myself have been saying for some time. There is a way for Prince William to strip Prince Andrew of his official title. But actually, what is far more interesting is that this is the blueprint that the Prince of Wales is considering, not for Andy, but Prince Harry, his own brother. So we'll get reaction and analysis from Lady C in just one moment. But first, here is how the Daily Telegraph reported on this story. And remember, Daily Telegraph, the establishment royal newspaper, so this was of some significance. Prince no more. How William could strip Andrew of his title. A new book full of excruciating stories about the Duke of York's sex life and financial dealings places pressure on the future king to act. And the newspaper reports there is a mechanism the Duke of York may not be pleased to learn, by which Parliament can remove not just a dukedom, but even the title of prince. It would need legislation followed by royal assent from the king, but it is nevertheless technically possible. It would be complicated, blockbuster headline news, and would need the quiet, unofficial backing of the palace. But as a new biography about Prince Andrew and his ex-wife lays out every scandal, indiscretion, and excruciating moment of bad manners over his lifetime, courtiers would be forgiven for swatting up on what is possible. The mechanisms open to a future King William to go further are much more extensive than is generally reported. He has the option to decline to invite his uncle to his future coronation. It would be headline news, but there is a precedent. The Duke of Windsor was excluded from both George and Elizabeth's and rather different circumstances of living in exile after abdication. A king can, in certain circumstances, remove the Order of the Garter, which is in the monarch's personal gift. Parliament has greater powers. It can remove the dukedom via legislation. A private member's bill to give the monarch powers to remove titles mooted in 2022 after the people of York argued they did not want to be associated with the Duke fell flat. But a government bill to do the same job would doubtless fare much better. Should another attempt with the heft of the government behind it be more successful, Prince Andrew's name could eventually be struck off the roll of the peerage, where it is currently listed under York. So, Lady Colin Campbell, I know you probably don't think this is fair for Prince Andrew, but what I guess was most interesting for me about this story is it is revealing the establishment plan that is going to be in place for Prince William to effectively thrust Harry out of the royal family. This is what the Prince of Wales wants to do once he is in charge. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today.
We can hardly blame him. I mean, you know, the reason why in 1917 the titles were stripped from the Duke of Albany and the Duke of Cumberland was that they were traitors to the British nation. Well, also, may I point out, Dan, that, which I'm sure you're aware of, the mechanism of stripping people of their titles. The titles can then be restored upon an application, and if it's judged that they should be restored, they can be restored. I mean, the fact that the Dukedom of Albany and Cumberland have never been restored is that the Duke of Coburg and Prince Ernst of Hanover have never applied for them to be taken out of abeyance. But there's not only the peerage that we're speaking about, which with say, not only Andrew, but Harry, York and Sussex. That has to be done by Parliament. But the king, with a stroke of the pen, can, and I've said this for ages, as you know, I've said it to you on your show on more than one occasion. The king, with a stroke of a pen, can do what George V did in 1917, when not only did he sort of rejig things in terms of the and this is separate from stripping people of their peerages. He, with the stroke of a pen, removed the right of the great-grandchildren of the monarch to be princes and princesses. And there's a very obvious case, which was Prince Alistair of Connaught. Prince Alistair of Connaught was Prince and Princess Arthur of Connaught's son, and the Duke of Connaught's grandson, who was Queen Victoria's favorite child. And he stripped Alistair of his princely rank with a stroke of a pen, and he simply became the Earl of Macduff, as a result of his mother being the Duchess of Fife in her own right. So that's how he actually ended up being anything but Lord Alistair whatever. And so the king can actually, with the stroke of a pen, any king can decide, well, I'm going to alter the way the princely rank works, because it was altered, as I say, in 1970 by George V. And it can be altered again with the stroke of a pen, because the king is the fount of honor. I should say the monarch is the fount of honor in this country. And he has or she has the power to alter who is entitled to what. And with a stroke of they can simply come up with new rules.
Yes, so Lady C, what you're saying then, presumably, is that this would not just apply to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but, and this is certainly what I'm hearing from William's side, it would apply to Archie and Lily too.
Oh, without a doubt, because without a doubt, I mean, I don't know what rule they'll come up with to justify doing it, but if Harry is caught in the net, Harry's the big fish. The little fish are definitely going to be caught in the net, because those children, in much the same way that when George V altered the rights of the descendants of the monarch, Prince Alistair of Connaught, whose parents were both royal highnesses, he ceased overnight to be a prince, and thereafter was never royal. He was, because when he acceded to the title to the dukedom of Connaught, he wasn't His Royal Highness the Duke of Connaught. He was just His Grace the Duke of Connaught. So if Harry is stripped of his princely rank, the children cease to have any entitlement whatsoever to princely rank. And let's remember, there has been a lot of resentment behind the scenes in royal circles for the way that Meghan and Harry announced that the children were now prince and princess, bouncing the family into having to go along with the announcement that they had made, failing which there would have been a huge international stink and a hue and cry in the run-up to the coronation.
I guess they were hoping, Lady C, this is the problem. King Charles always hopes for a logical, rational conclusion. So he thought, well, surely my son and my daughter-in-law, given they've been so anti the royal family, don't want their children to become a prince and princess. He thought that almost they would make the decision and then it could be something mutual. But that's not going to happen. This is going to have to be done in a difficult way. But I am very delighted seeing the Daily Telegraph at least starting to put out there what we've been saying for a long time, because mark my words, William is a no-nonsense guy. He is not going to put up with this rubbish. He will speak to the Prime Minister of the day. I do believe this will happen.
For several years, the relationship between Prince William and Prince Harry has been one of the most closely watched family stories in the world. The brothers, once known for their close bond, have reportedly grown apart following Harry and Meghan's decision to step back as senior working royals in 2020. Since then, interviews, documentaries, and Harry's memoir Spare have fueled ongoing public discussion about tensions within the royal family. Although there have been moments of hope for reconciliation, reports continue to suggest that significant differences remain. Recent commentary has reignited debate by suggesting that the future direction of the monarchy may leave Harry and Meghan even further removed from royal life. Some royal experts believe King Charles and Prince William are focused on a streamlined monarchy centered around working royals. Because Harry and Meghan no longer perform official royal duties, many observers say their public role naturally differs from that of William, Catherine, and their children. However, some headlines have framed these developments in far more dramatic terms than the available evidence supports. As always, it's important to distinguish between official announcements, media reporting, and speculation. As the future king, Prince William faces increasing responsibility. Royal commentators often suggest his long-term vision emphasizes stability, public service, and continuity. Much of his recent work has focused on homelessness, environmental issues, mental health, and supporting communities across the United Kingdom. Some analysts believe this reflects preparation for the next chapter of the monarchy rather than a response to family disagreements.
Well, William, and I'm going to use a word that some people will think is pejorative, but in this context, it's actually complimentary. William has a streak of ruthlessness in his nature that makes him a very good leader. And William does not pussyfoot around. William, for instance, when that whole business with Marlene Headley came about, if you remember, with our Susan Hussey, William, to preserve the Earthshot Awards, and because he was on a plane to the United States of America when Ngozi Fulani came up with all the nonsense that she did about racism at the palace, if you remember what I'm speaking about.
Oh, yes, I do. That woman.
Yes. And in her native costume that actually had nothing to do with any national country whatsoever. But we won't. The point I'm making is that William understood the importance of immediately throwing water on the fire. And even though Sue Hussey got splashed, he also knew that it was a bit unfair to Sue Hussey, but ultimately she would be on board with the really rather difficult decision he had to make. And indeed, she was on board with it. And the whole situation was tremendously unfortunate, but it showed that William has a backbone of steel. And if he has to splash you, he will splash you. And Harry and Meghan have set themselves up as the enemies of the British monarchy. I mean, really, Meghan is the one who has done it, and Harry has gone along.
Yeah.
And it is an untenable and stupid position. But I mean, she for somebody who thinks she's very clever, she's really incredibly stupid in her demeanor and her objectives, because she never actually achieves what she wants except attention. She gets the attention. but not the positive attention she wants. She gets negative attention.
Yeah.
But
And
that
it's
is
not attention that she's actually successfully monetizing, which is
No.
really interesting to me. I specifically wanted to ask you about Prince Harry's denial, because you know when Omid Scobie, that very odd-looking Michael Jackson lookalike, published that terrible claim that Charles and Catherine were indeed racist, didn't hear a word from Harry. But when it came to this book, the moment that there was this claim that Harry had left Prince Andrew with a bloody nose and that Andrew had also said some terrible things about Meghan, he immediately ran to People magazine saying that he denies this. And, you know, it was a spokesperson. We know that he communicates with People magazine directly by email. I mean, they've admitted that before, saying, I can confirm neither of these things are true. Prince Harry and Prince Andrew have never had a physical fight, nor did Prince Andrew ever make those comments about the Duchess of Sussex to Prince Harry. Why do you think he did this? And do you think there's any truth about this? Because I will come to this in just one moment, Lady C, but remember, there is a lot of evidence that Prince Harry is a very violent guy.
Well, one of my oldest and closest friends, who is a lord, and he's saving it for his memoirs, but it's been a source of amusement with us for years, because Harry saw him at something. This is decades ago, long before Meghan. Harry saw him at something, and Harry, who was pretty drunk or stoned at the time, tried to attack him. And he said, and I can't use the language that he said on this forum, but he basically said with very blue words, come, you little something or the other, come, you know, because he had been a boxing glue at Eton. And if I'm not mistaken, he's the person who ended up, something happened at Eton and they had to ban boxing because he was actually very happy for Harry to sort of lay a few blows on him. But Harry was being restrained by his security people, his protection officers. But while Harry was being restrained, he was saying, come, 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 and really trying to say, you know, so Harry, and that's just one of many incidents that I know of where Harry has shown himself to be, shall we say, trigger happy, and so I have no doubt that there is something to the story. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
And notice Prince Andrew, who is the one who would have been defamed. Harry wouldn't have been defamed. Harry's supposedly the victim in all of this. But Prince Andrew hasn't denied it.
Nope. No.
Let's remember that. If it's defamatory of anyone, it's not defamatory of Harry, it's defamatory of Andrew. And Andrew has completely ignored it.
I mean, it's also quite ironic, isn't it, Harry getting annoyed about someone revealing physical fights between members of the royal family, given that's exactly what he did in Spare. But look, I just wanted to present some really interesting evidence to you, Lady C, because I'm really sick and tired of Harry always acting as if he is not the physical aggressor. Because he did that in Spare, didn't he? He made it very, very clear that it was William who was the physical aggressor. Now, sure, we know Andrew has, shall we say, oafish delivery at times. Maybe that wasn't the right way to present it. But I mean, can we really criticize Andrew for trying to warn Harry off making the biggest mistake of his life? Well, no, I won't criticize him for that, Lady C. In fact, I'm going to go one step further. I congratulate him for having the balls to tell Harry the truth to his face, because you know, Lady C, there were a lot of other members of the royal family who were saying all of this behind the scenes to each other and not being brave enough to say it to Harry's face. So, look, I know there's a lot to criticize Andrew for. He's made lots of mistakes. But when it comes to him trying to warn Harry off Meghan, I only have praise for him. I really do. And no one's praised him at all this week for anything.
Well, I'm going to back you up on that because I commend him for having done it. And the fact of the matter is, he didn't do it in a terrible way. I mean, how else are you going to get across the fact that your nephew is making a total idiot of himself and is going to ruin his life? And I mean, to say that Meghan was an opportunist is putting it mild. I mean, he could have used far more cutting words, but he didn't. And he's turned out to be absolutely right in every way, except, of course, the fact that the marriage did last longer than a month. And so there he was wrong. But in every other respect, he was right. And he's not the only member of the family, Dan, as I'm sure you know, who actually tried to talk Harry out of making the biggest mistake of his life. And it's turned out to have not only been a big mistake for Harry, but the mistake Harry made helped to destroy the last months of his grandfather's life, the last years of his grandmother's life, to catapult the British nation into something approximating a racial cauldron. The Commonwealth, it caused no end of problems in the Commonwealth. I mean, I wish I had a pound for every West Indian and African diplomat who came up to me at events and said to me, we can't say this publicly, but please continue what you're doing because Meghan Markle is absolutely a disaster and she is causing huge problems in our countries with race relations. So, I mean, it was Harry's mistake has not been just a personal mistake. It's been not only a national mistake, it's even in the United States of America, it's been a huge mistake. Because let's remember, at the moment, the Americans are starting to look into the way that Harry and Meghan have been abusing their charities status to provide political support against the regulations, incidentally, of charities, and which is something I've addressed over quite a long period of time. That so even in the United States, I mean, if there is an investigation, and if it turns out that Meghan and Harry broke the law, which indeed they did, because they had no right to be. Well, let me put it this way: if they've managed to get away with supporting Geoffrey Craig and Ashley Biden, it's because on technical grounds they have not broken the letter of the law, but they have certainly broken the spirit of the law, because charities are not allowed to enter into politics and be politicized, which is what they have been using Archie as a vehicle of for some considerable length of time. So, her disdain for the rules and the regulations that were in place, not only here, but in the United States, so that there would be good governance, are just, astonishing. And he's gone along with it.
Even so, every decision involving the royal family inevitably attracts intense public attention. Since relocating to California, Prince Harry and Meghan have concentrated on charitable initiatives, business ventures, and raising their family. Their children, Archie and Lilibet, remain largely out of the public eye. Although their names frequently appear in royal headlines, there is relatively little verified information about private family discussions involving them. Much of what circulates online comes from unnamed sources or commentary rather than official confirmation. That's why separating fact from speculation is so important. Supporters of Harry and Meghan argue the couple deserves privacy and the freedom to shape their own future. Others believe the royal family is right to focus on members who continue carrying out official duties. Meanwhile, many people simply hope to see reconciliation between the brothers one day. The ongoing debate reflects just how invested audiences remain in the future of the monarchy. What happens next? Could King Charles eventually bring the family closer together? Will Prince William and Prince Harry find common ground? Or has the royal family entered a completely new chapter that leaves the past behind? Only time will tell. For now, all eyes remain on future royal events, where even the smallest interaction, or absence, can spark worldwide discussion. The royal family continues to evolve, and every new headline adds another layer to an already fascinating story. While speculation will always generate attention, verified information often paints a more balanced picture. We'll continue following the latest developments as they unfold. If you enjoyed today's update, don't forget to subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest royal family news. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.